Okay, so some people on their AlexPy aren't really sure what a function is, all right, and what a relation is and things like that. So this isn't really a formal definition. You can look on Alex for that, but basically a relation is basically a relationship between things. But a function is special in the sense that every input has one output. So for example, say I give a test and I have Sue and Jose, right? And I don't know, whoever, I don't know, John or something like that. And so these people take this test, and so each one of them has a quiz grade. So maybe she gets 80%, maybe Jose also gets 80%, and maybe John gets a 90%. All right. So if you look, Sue has one output, it's 80%, and so does Jose has one output, it's 80%. So it's okay if they have the same score, and that would be a function, and then John has 90%. What would not be a function is if I have Sue and Jose and John, and then when I look in the grade book, Sue has two scores, an 80% and 100% for the exact same quiz. That would be a problem. All right, so that would not be a function. And so a good example of a function might be something like a social security number. So if I input someone's formal name, there should only be one social security number to go with that. That's a function. Phone numbers would probably not be a function, because if I think of myself personally, if you were to type in my name, three phone numbers would probably come up: my landline at home, my cell phone number, and my work desk number. So cell phone would not be an example of a function. And so one popular way to tell if something is a function is to graph it. All right. So if I look above here, I can graph this. So if I have that first example, I have Sue, Jose, and John. And then I'm going to skip some values here. All right, so maybe this is a 70%, 80%, 90%, and maybe 100%. So if I look at the first example up here, if I graph Sue's score, she got an 80%, Jose got an 80%, and John got a 90%. The vertical line test basically says as long as you can draw a vertical line anywhere on the function that it only goes through exactly one point, then it's a function. All right, so that's okay. If I look at my second example, though, that is going to fail. So if we look at the next one, all right, Sue, I'll just look at her because that's the only one I talked about. Sue has a score at 80, but then she also has a score at 100 for the exact same event. And so do you see how it fails the vertical line test? All right, so that would not be a function. And again, I'm trying to simplify this a little bit in terms of real life stuff. So typically in algebra, though, we think of a function as an input has an output. So if I have, f of x equals 2x plus 3, that's a linear function. I could graph it. So I could go, okay, well, I start at 3 and I have a slope of 2 over 1. So rise 2, run 1, or go down 2 over 1. But I could graph it. And again, that's just a sketch. But if I want to do the vertical line test, you see that no matter, as long as I draw a vertical line, it will only go through exactly one point in there. So that is definitely a function. All right. I might have something else. All right. Like f of x, or let me see. We could just use y too. Say I give you y equals x squared. All right. And so if I graph this, some people might make a chart. All right, so I might just do that here for a second. So like -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. So if I square that, I get 9. Square that, I get 4. Square that, I get 1, 0, 1, and 4. All right. And so if I graph that, I have a point at 0, 0, -1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, somewhere up there, something like that. So I get a parabola that goes through the origin because it hasn't been shifted. Again, so sometimes with functions you see f of x, but sometimes you just see y. It doesn't mean it's not a function. And again, if you look, this will always pass the vertical line test. So that is definitely a function. But I could have something the names there. So I could have something like, here's my XY axis, and maybe I have something that goes through origin like that. Okay, so when I graph it, that's what I end up with. Well, then when you look, you see how that fails the vertical line test. So that would not be a function.